All right, welcome into Mock Draft Monday here. We are going to be going through Justin Melo's mock draft over on the Draft Network. Fired up to get into it. Have not seen this one yet. Going to be kind of mocking the mock here, having a good time, reacting to this one in live time with you guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And look, in the works right now, working on my top 5 defensive tackles. We're going to talk about a lot more than 5 names. And this class is looking really exciting. I've got 3 first rounders right now. Let me know what y'all are thinking about this defensive tackle class. But Justin Melo does a great job over at the Draft Network, also covers the Titans. We're going to dive into this mock draft here together. So we've got a trade at the top. Wow. New York Giants trading with the Jacksonville Jaguars to get up to number 1 overall. Take Shedeur Sanders. Jaguars receive the 5th overall pick, a 2nd round pick, a 2026 first, and a 2026 third. I think that's good value to move down 4 spots for the Jaguars in a class where they're not drafting a quarterback. And look, I cover the Jaguars. You might be able to tell by the background behind me, or if you've been watching here for a while. But I think that this would represent good value for the Jaguars. For the Giants, moving up to 1 to get Shedeur Sanders. Do I personally think Shedeur Sanders warrants the number 1 overall pick? No. But we know the way it works in the NFL with quarterbacks, right? The top guy, whoever that may be this year, whether you view it as Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, someone else, probably going to go a lot higher than some folks think that they should. Melo says the New York Giants make an aggressive move to number 1 overall. This regime is preparing to move on from Daniel Jones, who they did bench today, so that makes sense. And aside from quarterback, have built a competitive roster, having accumulated young offensive talents like Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy Jr. Now's the time to go get their quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is this class' most talented signal caller with outstanding deep ball accuracy and a knack for making off-script plays. Yeah, I don't think I would say he's the most talented. I think he is the most consistent right now. Still needs to work on his pocket awareness, pocket movement. He drifts in the pocket a ton still. But yeah, I do think that the Shedeur projects as a longtime starter in the NFL and someone who, if he does have a Malik Neighbors, a Tyrone Tracy, some other pieces around him, could do a good job for them. And then getting to number 2 here, Tennessee Titans, Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State. Will Levis has shown some improvement lately, influencing the Tennessee Titans to continue developing him. Alternatively, the edge position sorely lacks difference makers opposite Harold Landry. Abdul Carter is the class's best edge, rare instincts and athleticism give Carter perennial Pro Bowl potential. If y'all have heard me talk about edge players on here, I think Abdul Carter is 2nd or 3rd best player in this class. What he has done over the last several weeks at Penn State, his development going from a primary off-ball linebacker to an edge player. It's not just his crazy athleticism and speed to power. He's showing a wide variety of pass rush moves. He's able to win inside using swims. He's finishing his moves with rips. Like, he's growing. You can see it each and every week, and he's doing an excellent job. I think he should be absolutely a candidate for the Titans here at number 2, so that makes sense for me. Cleveland Browns at number 3, Cam Ward. Deshaun Watson should not return as the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, writes Melo, quarterback next season. Despite his bloated contract being immovable, Cam Ward continues to dazzle on Saturdays with rare playmaking ability. Despite what this season indicates, Kevin Stefanski is still a terrific offensive-minded head coach who can maximize the rare traits Ward brings to the table. Yeah, I mean, I agree the Browns need to move on. Currently, I do think Cam Ward has the most potential if he lands in a really good spot to become like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, a real difference maker in the league. Obviously needs to work on his decision-making, needs to grow as a pocket passer, but I think that this could be a good fit. So, and I absolutely agree. They got to move on from Deshaun Watson. So I think that makes sense there. At number 4, the Las Vegas Raiders, Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama. Milroe followed up last week's breathtaking performance for his LSU with a 3 touchdowns showing and an easy win over Mercer. Milroe continues to elevate himself into the quarterback 1 conversation. Las Vegas Raiders have a massive problem at the position with neither Gardner Minshew nor Aiden O'Connell being long-term solution. Yeah, the Raiders, I was super disappointed with what they decided to do at the quarterback position heading into this season. And so getting Jalen Milroe here, look, unbelievable athlete, legitimate burner who has great size and power, vision as a runner. His quarterback play has improved. He has shown progress in that regard. Still a pretty inaccurate quarterback, ball placement, decision making, leaves a lot to be desired. But yeah, I think if you're going to take a swing here, I could see Jalen Milroe. I would like to see Jalen Milroe return to school and continue to develop. But I mean, you could say that about a lot of the quarterbacks in this year's class, potential quarterbacks in this year's class. But yeah, the Raiders finally doing something at quarterback that could elevate their football team. Yeah. So we get down to the Jaguars here, and of course, they traded the first overall pick. They got back 536, 2026 first, 2026 third, and they get to sit here and pick the player I would have taken for them at 1 overall. And Justin Melo writes, the Jaguars trade down from number 1 overall pick and still get their top ranked player. With needs at both wide receiver and cornerback, two-way star Travis Hunter would have a realistic path to playing both offense and defense in Jacksonville. The next regime, Doug Peterson might be fired by the time you read this, will need stars of Hunter's caliber to begin the era. I agree. The Jaguars need star players, whether you're playing him at cornerback primarily with sprinklings of wide receiver or playing him at receiver. He's going to help this team out tremendously. Playing him opposite Tyson Campbell or playing him, with Brian Thomas Jr. catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, either way, whatever his main focus at the NFL is going to be, I think he's going to be better at that spot than he has been at either spot in college because he's going to be more focused. He's not going to have to play full time on both sides of the ball. And he's just a tremendous star. Unbelievable talent. He's my top overall player in this 2025 NFL draft. So for the Jaguars, getting him at 5 and being able to get all that draft capital makes a ton of sense. At 6, we have the New England Patriots. Drake May is quietly playing outstanding football behind the worst offensive line in the NFL. So upgrading it with Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. For me, offensive lineman. The New England Patriots must upgrade their protection in front of him this offseason. The offensive line class possesses a lot of question marks. Will Campbell could convert to guard from offensive tackle at the next level, but he's the class's top offensive lineman until proven otherwise. I agree with all of that. I think he probably does play guard. I think he struggles with guys out there on the edge that have great speed and length, quickness, but we'll see how that plays out. I've talked about Will Campbell being a Patriot type of player in my head for a while. I felt like Drake May was last year as well. Will Campbell makes sense for the Patriots to me. At number 7, New York Jets, Mykel Williams, edge out of Georgia. The New York Jets have invested a lot of resources at the edge position in recent drafts, but Mykel Williams' ability to kick inside adds some versatility to his overall game. Williams has flashed elite upside when healthy this season. Despite the injury and a handful of no-shows, he's still an elite prospect in this class. So I disagree. I don't think he's elite. I do have a first-round grade on him, but to me, there's certainly better options here for the New York Jets. Yes, they do need help around Quinnen Williams, but I think that there's better options here for the Jets. I wouldn't be a huge fan of this pick. At number 8 is one of those options that I think would have been better for the Jets. DJ Reed likely to move on in free agency. Pairing Will Johnson up with Sauce Gardner would give you perhaps the most elite cornerback duo in the league, certainly. But Will Johnson goes to the Carolina Panthers here at 8. Bryce Young has begun stacking better performances for the Carolina Panthers as of late. The further the Panthers fall down the draft order, the likelier they are to address another position. Cornerback opposite J.C. Horn has been an absolute joke, and drafting Will Johnson would suddenly give defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero one of the more ascending corner duos to work with in football. I agree with all that 100%. I think that if Will Johnson falls to 8 overall, you run to the podium. Honestly, I think that for the Patriots, obviously you have to protect your quarterback, but Will Johnson would have been a better value than anybody after this top 5. I strongly feel that way. At number 9, Dallas Cowboys, Ashton Jeanty. This is the one that everybody loves, right? The Dallas Cowboys' decision to acquire Jonathan Mingo at the NFL trade deadline was stunning. Why were they buyers considering their record? Furthermore, wouldn't acquiring a running back help their league worst rushing attack make more sense in the wake of the Dak Prescott injury? Running back is a massive need, and this isn't too early for Ashton Jeanty, one of college football's best overall players and prospects. I agree completely. I honestly think Jeanty should go ahead of this spot. Even though he's a running back, he's going to be an unbelievable 3-down player, offensive engine, best tackle breaker I've seen in a while, super explosive, great vision, can run from under center, shotgun, can run outside zone, inside zone, gap heavy scheme. It doesn't matter. Ashton Jeanty's the man. So I'm good with that there. At number 10, the New Orleans Saints take Tet McMillan. The New Orleans Saints' difficult cap situation may force them to run Derek Carr back for another season. If so, adding an instant contributor to the passing game like Tetero McMillan would make sense. With Chris Olave beginning to earn the injury-prone label, McMillan would project as the dominant X-boundary wideout in Clint Kubiak's offense. Yeah, that's all he has to say there. So I could see it for sure. T-Mac or Tetero McMillan out of Arizona, 6'5", 215 plus pounds. He's got great ball skills, tremendous hands, great length, catch radius. I think he is more nuanced route runner than a lot of guys at his size, and he's also got plenty of quickness and agility. And so, yeah, this makes sense for me. I could absolutely see them going in that direction at 10 overall. At 11, the Miami Dolphins select Malachi Stark, safety out of Georgia. Superstar safety Javon Holland is scheduled for a massive payday in free agency one of the Miami Dolphins can seldom afford. Georgia safety Malachi Starks is among the best overall prospects in the class and would project as a like-for-like replacement. I think Starks is a better prospect than Holland was. Holland has obviously developed into a tremendous player, but I think Starks would be great for the Miami Dolphins here. I have him rated a good bit higher than number 11 overall, but the safety position is devalued in the NFL. If Javon Holland moves on from Miami, yes, obviously. Even if he's still there, I could see this making sense, right? I think getting the best safety duo in the NFL and Starks, he can absolutely play downhill. And he's a great tackler, but he's also great in coverage, whether you're playing single high, two high. He even has reps in the slot this year, so would love that for the Dolphins. At number 12, Cincinnati Bengals getting Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman out of Michigan. Lou Anarumo's defense has been borderline unrecognizable, writes Melo, this season because they've been weak up the middle. Mason Graham would help transform this unit. Adding an interior pass rusher would further free up Trey Hendrickson on the edge. Yeah, gosh, if I was a Bengals fan, wow. Getting Mason Graham at 12 overall would be insane. Literally, I mean, this guy is a top 3 talent in this class for me, top 4 at worst. Has everything you could ask for as from an interior defensive lineman. 320 pounds, explosive, violent hands, can shock you at the point of attack, has a variety of hand moves, has flexibility that's rare at the spot. I think he's going to be a really good run defender and great interior pass rusher for the Bengals there. At 13, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jalen Walker, linebacker / edge out of Georgia. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka at Anthony Elson are among the Buccaneers pending unrestricted free agents. That could leave the Buccaneers with a young nucleus of Yaya Diaby and Chris Bradwell at edge. Jalen Walker is one of the top rushers in the class with a ton of developmental upside. Yeah, I think if you're going to draft him, it has to be in a hybrid role, but an attacking hybrid role. You don't want him covering down the field. So Jalen Walker, as long as you can figure out how to use him properly, absolutely has tremendous upside. To me, it's a little bit rich here, but I know that his physical ability as a downhill attack style player, his upside is huge. So pretty interesting there. Chicago Bears taking Wyatt Milam, offensive lineman out of West Virginia at 14 overall. Shane Waldron is out after the Chicago Bears finally made a necessary change at offensive coordinator, writes Justin Melo. This offseason will be all about continuing to surround Caleb Williams with a better environment for success. The offensive line is a mess, particularly along the interior. Wyatt Milam is playing left tackle for West Virginia, but he projects as a guard at the next level. Yeah, to me, Milam has been unbelievable this year in pass protection from a numbers wise. And I do think he's going to project inside. I think this is a bit rich. I really do. I think this is a bit rich looking at this one. I don't know that Wyatt Milam really makes sense at 14 overall with the rest of the talent on the board here. I mean, you've got Booker out of Alabama, who I think would project probably a little bit higher at guard on my board, and probably a couple other guys on it. I mean, Kelvin Banks at guard I think would be really enticing. To me, this is a bit of a reach. At 15, Indianapolis Colts. Shamar Stewart, edge, Texas A&M. Stewart is an extremely athletic mover for someone who weighs 290 pounds. Stewart possesses incredible power in his hands, and he plays with a red-hot motor. Deo Odeyingbo is a pending free agent, and GM Chris Ballard could replace him through the draft, pairing Stewart with last year's first-round pick Leatu Latu. Yeah, I mean, the Colts have a lot of edge talent. Kwity Paye's still there as well. Forrest Buckner on the interior, Grover Stewart on the interior. I would like this. I think that Stewart has a lot of development to do to become a refined pass rusher, and he doesn't quite rank this high for me, but I do have him as a top 32 prospect in this class right now. He's really solid against the run. He does have the potential as a pass rusher to be an absolute disruptor. Great athlete. So the Colts, we know that they select athletes, and Leatu Latu was a little bit of a change up for them because great athlete, very good athlete, but more of a technician. Usually, what they're going for is the guys that have the best RAS score, and Shamar Stewart probably is going to be way high up there when you look at mock draftable or RAS, whatever it may be, at edge. Seattle Seahawks at 16, Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, Texas. The Seahawks may enter the offseason needing to upgrade both offensive guard positions. Texas' Calvin Banks Jr. plays left tackle for the Longhorns, but questionable balance and body control may force him to kick inside. Banks would immediately replace Laken Tomlinson at left guard or Anthony Bradford at right guard. Yeah, I think that'd be good value for the Seahawks there. I do admittedly worry a little bit about the balance and body control, but I think there's enough positive aspects to his game. He's got great pass protection hands. Like, he knows how to use his hands at an extremely high level. I think limiting the space that he plays in could be a major bonus for him, kicking him inside. So I could see that working out for them. Los Angeles Rams at 17, Luther Burden, the third wide receiver, Missouri. Cooper Kupp may be a cap casualty this offseason. His departure would create a need for the Rams to add another receiver to the offense that does damage underneath the coverage. Luther Burden would be an intriguing replacement as the new slot receiver for Matthew Stafford should he return at quarterback. Absolutely. Yes, I'm here for this pick 100%. I think Luther Burden, his usage at Missouri, the quarterback play at Missouri, it's all been very disappointing over the last couple years for him. A guy that I think has way more talent and upside than even what we've seen. Reliable hands. He's about 6 feet, 210 pounds, incredibly well built, thick lower half, has power, has explosiveness. I think Luther Burden getting in this Rams offense could be fireworks. That could be a match made in heaven. At 18, San Francisco 49ers James Pierce Jr. edge out of Tennessee. Nick Bosa isn't getting any younger, and depth is an issue for the San Francisco 49ers front. James Pierce Jr. is an extremely long and athletic rusher. He entered the preseason as a potential number 1 overall pick and could still go higher than this if he closes the season out strong. Yeah. I don't think that James Pierce Jr. should be on the board here, quite frankly. Special edge rusher. Crazy athleticism, bend, flexibility, get off. He knows how to win on the outside arc, and then that forces tackles to overset, and he can work across your face, get inside. I mean, he's a great rusher. So as a 3-4 edge, or, in this case, the San Francisco 49ers do a lot of wide 9, so getting him out there, getting some speed to build up, yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Denver Broncos at 19, Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Sean Payton understands the importance of rostering an elite tight end after coaching Jimmy Graham in New Orleans for years. Drafting Colston Loveland would further invest in Bo Nix, who has been outstanding since the calendar flipped to October. Yeah, I like this pick. Colston Loveland deserves to go in this range of the draft, in my opinion. He's going to be a big-time receiver at the tight end position, not necessarily like a Y, more of a move tight end, right? But someone who I think that Sean Payton and Bo Nix could absolutely get the most out of. So that's a fit I really like. I want to remind y'all, if you enjoy the content here, please consider like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's all NFL draft all the time over here. So at number 20, Atlanta Falcons, Princely Umanmielen, edge out of Ole Miss. Edge has been a yearly need for the Falcons that will displease defensive-minded head coach Raheem Morris, who can't be satisfied with the current state of the pass rush. Ole Miss Princely Umanmielen came alive in recent weeks with 8.5 sacks in the previous 5 games. Look, I've been high on Princely Umanmielen for a really long time. Even going back to last year, I thought he could have come out. There's been some questions about his maturity, not from me personally, but you've seen that around the Florida program before he transferred to Ole Miss. This is a guy that has every tool you could ask for from a pass rusher. He's got length. He's got a variety of pass rush moves, inside spin counter. He can win around the edge and bend. He can win with some power as well. He's not like an overly light edge prospect. He's in the 255 to 260 range. So I think Umanmielen, yeah, I would be a fan of that overall. Do I think he represents the best value on the board here right now? No, I don't. But I think it would be a sound pick for the Falcons there, as long as they feel good with the person they're bringing into the building there. Walter Nolan, interior defensive lineman, Ole Miss. to the Houston Texans. The Texans possess outstanding depth at edge, but could use upgrades across the interior. Walter Nolan is a D'Amico Ryans type of player. Nolan is tough and dependable with 3-down potential. I have Nolan ranked a good bit higher in this class than 21 overall. So for the Texans to land him would make sense. As a Jaguars fan, I always look at what the Texans do and I'm like, wow, how are they able to get away with this? But yeah, Walter Nolan, incredibly explosive off the ball, has a variety of hand moves. I mean, he was the number one overall prospect recruit in his class a few years back, and he's really starting to put it together at Ole Miss after transferring from Texas A&M. And a guy that, yeah, you put him in the middle with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. I mean, let's roll, right? That would be unbelievable for them. At 22 overall, the Arizona Cardinals get Nick Scorton edge out of Texas A&M. By way of Purdue, the Arizona Cardinals are so ravaged at the edge position that they're starting Zaven Collins and LJ Collier. Jonathan Gannon desperately needs some difference makers in his front seven. Nick Scorton is a powerful edge prospect who has flashed high upside this season. Yeah, I mean, he was even better last year. I think he put on some bad weight. Texas A&M also has a huge rotation. Scorton at like 285 still has an incredible spin move, some rare flexibility at his size. I think you drop the weight a little bit, get him playing back more like he was at Purdue, and you have a value at this point in the draft. So that'd be good for the Arizona Cardinals. At 23, Washington Commanders, Siobhan Revelle out of East Carolina, the lengthy corner. Siobhan Revelle is still a first-round prospect despite tearing his ACL earlier this season. The Washington Commanders are a team that could be patient with his recovery after acquiring Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline. Emmanuel Forbes was a pick made by the previous regime, and Dan Quinn could continue placing his thumbprint on defense by replacing players who are miscast in his system. Yeah, I could see that certainly. I would like the Commanders to kind of continue looking at their offensive line as well. But, you know, having Revelle as a number 2 corner to a Marshawn Lattimore, it could make a lot of sense. It could be really, really impressive quickly, but huge jump in level of competition for Revelle. It would be an interesting pick, especially with the ACL, but I could see it making sense for them because he has the potential to be a shutdown corner at the next level with his length and athleticism. Baltimore Ravens at 24, Josh Simmons, Ohio State offensive tackle. The aging Ronnie Stanley is in a contract year and the injuries have been piling up, writes Justin Melo. The Ravens need to start thinking about a succession plan, even if they re-sign him to a short-term deal. Ohio State's Josh Simmons was in contention for OT1 before suffering a season-ending injury versus Oregon. Simmons doubles as an outstanding athlete with brute force in his game. Yeah, I think Simmons, he was my OT1 before he got injured, which is very unfortunate for him. But I don't think that ACL is going to be something that you have to worry about long term. You know, maybe he's not quite ready for the start of the 2025 campaign, but you're bringing him in to be your long-term answer at tackle, right? And he is incredibly light on his feet. He's got great length. He plays the game smart. He's good in pass protection, good as a run blocker, somebody who knows how to move really well laterally and vertically up the field to get to the second and third level of the defense. I love Josh Simmons' game. So yeah, Baltimore Ravens landing a guy like Josh Simmons at 24. Of course they are. That's all the Baltimore Ravens do is win in the draft. 25, Los Angeles Chargers. Kenneth Grant, interior defensive lineman out of Michigan. Jim Harbaugh has the Los Angeles Chargers playing hard-nosed football. With Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on their last legs, it's time for Harbaugh to begin reconfiguring this defensive line. Kenneth Grant is a big-bodied gap plugger who fits the culture, and his familiarity with the scheme makes him an easy fit. I agree with all that. I think there's better value at the interior defensive line spot here in the first round to get players who might have more pass rush upside than Kenneth Grant does, but I do really like his game, and I don't think he's going to be completely useless as a pass rusher, but much more of a run defense guy who, you know, at like 340 pounds, he does have better flexibility and explosiveness than you would expect, but I would certainly prefer like a Tyleik Williams or even a Derek Harmon here to get somebody who really brings some more athleticism and juice to potentially impact the quarterback, but Kenneth Grant makes your interior defensive line a lot more stout than it currently is, no doubt about it. At 26, Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. Eric Stokes is a pending free agent, and Jair Alexander is getting into the latter years of his contract. Benjamin Morrison suffered a season-ending injury, but he's a technically sound prospect when healthy with alpha tendencies on the boundary. Yeah, another big injury, hip injury for him. To me, this is not where I would go if I was the Packers. I know you might need corner, but there's guys I would rather take. Um, cornerback out of Florida State. I think that Benjamin Morrison is projects to be a decent starting corner, probably a number two, but I don't think that that's what you're really trying to swing for here. I would much rather have Azaria Thomas out of Florida State, a couple other guys as well. So, not a huge fan of that one, quite frankly. 27, Pittsburgh Steelers, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. Huge fan of this. Trading for Mike Williams was a short-term solution at receiver for the Steelers opposite George Pickens. Emeka Egbuka would be a perfect complement to Pickens' downfield ability. Egbuka is a nuanced route runner who creates consistent separation underneath the coverage. Yeah, I think he's a Steeler type of player. Absolutely. I think he brings it every single play. Hardworking, super talented. I do think he projects as a slot or a move Z type of guy who again that would complement what you have in George Pickens, and super reliable, great route runner. I think he's got enough explosiveness and juice to separate underneath and in the intermediate areas of the field. I think this would be a very Pittsburgh Steelers type of pick. I would like it a lot. At 28, the Minnesota Vikings get Derek Harmon, interior defensive lineman, Oregon. Brian Flores has the Minnesota Vikings playing elite defense, a difference maker up the middle like Derek Harmon would add another layer of toughness in the trenches. Harmon carries 3-down potential as an advanced run stopper and developing pass rusher. I actually like him more as a pass rusher based on the tape that I've seen of him at Oregon. I know he played at Michigan State and he's kind of bounced around in terms of his weight a little bit, but he's explosive and he's got a variety of hand moves to win and displace offensive linemen at the snap. He's a good athlete. So, yeah, I do like this pick of the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't quite agree with the assessment there. But I think that the Minnesota Vikings landing a Derek Harmon at 28 would, assuming Brian Flores is still there, they're starting to really build a filthy defense up there. But long term, I do still think they need corners. So interesting. I would like an Azaria Thomas there as well. At 29, Philadelphia Eagles, Jonas Avenea, offensive lineman, Arizona. Yeah, this makes sense. Are the Philadelphia Eagles going to re-sign Mekhi Becton, who is arguably having a career best year at right guard? If the price goes up, drafting a cheap replacement like Jonas Avenea could appeal to GM Howie Roseman. Avenea is playing tackle for Arizona, but he projects as a guard, which is the position he initially played for the Wildcats. He's a phone booth blocker with outstanding power. I think Avenea, he's got length. I think he could actually play tackle or guard in the NFL. So this is a great value pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. No surprise there. Another team who does great in the NFL draft. Getting him, I think, again, yeah, you can play him at right guard. I think Lane Johnson still has a lot left in the tank. So to me, there's no reason to be worrying about Lane Johnson long term. Play him at right guard, and then maybe in a few years when Lane Johnson retires, maybe he can kick out to right tackle for you. Who knows? At 30, Buffalo Bills, Maxwell Harrison, cornerback, Kentucky. Rasul Douglas is a pending free agent. Kyrie Elam hasn't developed. Maxwell Harrison has an NFL-level ball skills with 12 pass breakups and 6 interceptions over the past 2 seasons. Yeah, Harrison is a fun player. Buffalo Bills like to play a lot of zone coverage. I think that he fits that to a T out of Kentucky. A guy that makes sense, but not the most exciting pick. Still talking, every time a cornerback comes off the board, I'm still going to point to Azaria Thomas out of Florida State as someone who should be considered. At 31, the Kansas City Chiefs take Josh Connerly, offensive tackle, Oregon. Wanye Morris hasn't shown long-term left tackle potential, and the Chiefs have been hesitant to put Kingsley Suamataia in that spot. Josh Connerly Jr. possesses terrific length and plays with pro-ready hands and pass protection. I agree. Connerly is a little bit light in the pants, but overall, as a pass protector, I think he could do a better job than what you've seen out of Donovan Smith last year or anyone that's been playing for the Kansas City Chiefs this year at left tackle. So that would address a major need. I do think, you look at, what do you do with Kingsley? I think Kingsley can play guard for you long term in this situation. And you just continue to develop them there. They have, a great offensive line coach. And I think that getting somebody as talented as him, adding a little bit of mass to his frame, a little bit of strength over the next coming years, and I think it could work out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Adding Josh Connerly there, it makes sense to me. At 32, Detroit Lions, Landon Jackson, edge out of Arkansas. Detroit Lions keep proving they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders who can overcome adversity. One of the few knocks on this Lions team is the lack of a pass rush since losing Aiden Hutchinson to a season-ending injury. A pass rusher will still be a need in the offseason. Landon Jackson is a proven rusher with alignment versatility. His red-hot motor would pair well with the opportunities Hutchinson's dominance would afford him. Yeah, Landon Jackson is kind of a freak show. Like, he's super tall, great length, great size. He has rare flexibility at his size, and he's really developed over the last couple years. I think this makes sense. There's definitely guys I rate higher on the board, but he does feel like a Detroit Lion type of player with the way he approaches the game, and I could see it. I could see it for the Lions. Definitely not the highest rated player I have on my board. Neither was Connerly, neither was Harrison, but for the most part, I think that these fits make sense, and I think Justin Melo did a fantastic job. Got a link to this mock draft in the description below. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, again, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's all draft all the time here at Rogue Football.